everybody. My name is Aaliyah Robinson, and today I'm going to be giving a presentation on the effects of climate change and how people can reduce their emissions. So first, I will be talking about multimodality. Multimodality is an important tool to have for many different reasons. It can be used to spread different forms of media, such as images, video, audio, text, and more. I will be using multimodality within my presentation to show the effects of climate change and how individuals can reduce their own emissions. I will successfully do this by finding supporting articles and including images within my presentation. So first, I would like to talk about some information on climate change. Climate change is a very important issue, and it has been for a while now. So according to the official NASA website, climate change is a long-term change in the average weather patterns that have come to define Earth's local, regional, and global climates. Climate change affects people, animals, and environments all over the world. Every single living thing on our planet is affected by climate change in some way, and that is why it is so important to take action sooner rather than later. In my presentation, I will be discussing climate change, the importance of making a change, and how individuals can reduce their emissions. So, this image is from the official NASA website and shows the increase in global temperature from 1880 to 2020. The years 2016 to 2020 had the highest global temperature on record according to the graph. Each of these aspects of photographs, as they are used in various compositions, involves choices made by composers for achieving persuasive ends, said Wykowski. Climate change has been affecting our planet for a very long time. Change in the Earth's climate has a lot to do with human activities that happen to have a negative impact on the planet. So, a human activity that really negatively affects the planet's climate is the burning of fossil fuels. Burning fossil fuels is extremely harmful to the Earth's atmosphere. Changes observed in Earth's climate since the mid-20th century are driven by human activities, particularly fossil fuel burning, which increases heat-trapping greenhouse gas levels in Earth's atmosphere, raising Earth's average surface temperature, according to NASA. Reducing the burning of fossil fuels is crucial to help fight against climate change and save the planet from getting worse. So next I will be talking about carbon footprint. Although climate change is negatively impacting the planet, there are actions that can be taken to slow down the effects of climate change. So, reducing emissions is a great way to help fight against climate change and global warming. Individuals can reduce their emissions by reducing their carbon footprint. Carbon footprint is how much greenhouse gases are emitted into the atmosphere individually. Your carbon footprint is the amount of greenhouse gases, including carbon dioxide, methane, nitrous oxide, fluorinated gases, and others, that you can produce as you live your life, according to Columbia Climate School. There are many different ways individuals can reduce their carbon footprint. The first way you can reduce your carbon footprint is by the food that you intake. So the first thing a person can do to reduce their carbon footprint is by the food a person consumes. Eating more fruits, vegetables, and legumes is a great way to reduce emissions. The meat industry plays a large role in releasing greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. Along with meat, the dairy industry also negatively affects Earth's atmosphere and puts out a lot of emissions. Livestock, meat, and dairy is responsible for 14.5% of man-made global greenhouse gas emissions, mainly from feed production and processing and the methane, 25 times more potent than CO2 at trapping heat in the atmosphere over 100 years, that beef and sheep belch out, according to Columbia Climate School. And according to this article, each day a person goes without consuming meat or dairy, they can reduce their emissions by 8 pounds. Now that equals out to about 2,920 pounds per year. So, the second thing a person can do to reduce their carbon footprint is by the clothing that they purchase. So, fast fashion negatively impacts the planet and releases a lot of greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. Fast fashion is typically cheaply made clothing that doesn't last very long. This results in a lot of clothing ending up in landfills. As these clothes decompose, they release a gas called methane, which is a gas that negatively impacts the Earth's atmosphere. So, in order to combat fast fashion, a great way to find quality clothing that will last a lot longer can be found through thrifting or secondhand shops. This clothing can also end up being a lot more affordable and will save a person a lot more money in the long run. So, this photo was taken by a photographer named Jessica Murray. This photograph shows clothing that has been thrown away and clothing that will eventually end up in landfills. The third thing a person can do to reduce their carbon footprint is by transportation. Transportation is one of the leading causes in CO2 emissions. Because electricity increasingly comes from natural gas and renewable energy, transportation became the major source of U.S. CO2 emissions in 2017. An average car produces about 5 tons of CO2 each year. Although this varies according to the type of car, its fuel efficiency, and how it's driven, according to Columbia Climate School. There are many ways a person can reduce their emissions by changing their transportation habits. A great way to reduce emissions is by walking more, carpooling, and even biking. Although driving is inevitable, even just by driving less helps significantly. So, climate change is an issue that negatively impacts the planet along with all living things. Climate change, it can be scary, but thankfully there are many different actions that individuals can take to personally reduce their own emissions. People can reduce their own carbon footprint by eating less meat and dairy, shopping secondhand, and by walking and biking more. The more people that stand up for our planet, the more positive change will happen. Earth is incredibly important to me, and so is this topic. It's also important to so many other people, and working together will result in the most change. Having a community and spreading awareness is what's going to bring people together and just make people more knowledgeable about this topic in general. I believe it is also important to fight for living things that don't have their own voices, such as animals in the environment. Without these things, humans would not be able to survive. We all rely on each other for something. So, in conclusion, climate change is a current issue and complex problem that should be addressed in order for change to happen. The more people that are informed about climate change and how they can reduce their own emissions will positively impact the planet. Climate change is caused by long-term effects, and the actions taken to combat it will have a long-term impact. Climate change affects everyone, and what matters is how our planet fights against it. This research has allowed me to learn so much more about climate change and global warming. I've also learned a lot more ways that I can reduce my own carbon footprint and hopefully do the same for others as well. And then this is my works cited. Thank you guys so much for watching. Bye!